with math with RHB, and today we're going to look at division of whole numbers and the division signs, what they actually mean, how they work, and which order they are in. You need to know the terminology for division signs. So you have the parts of a division question. And if you don't know the parts of a division question, right, it can slow you down later on in math, especially when you start doing word problems. It's one of the few of the 4 operations that is actually described using certain terminology. So I've done example 1, example 2, and example 3. So we'll start obviously with example 1. And we're looking at what you've got for the parts of a division question. So we're going to look at before the bracket, inside the bracket, and above the bracket. So A in this case is, I'm going to use a sharper, is your divisor. Inside the bracket, B, it's dividend. I don't know if you can see that actually. There, is that better? Okay, dividend. And your answer is the quotient. Example 2, I'm not going to hike it up. Example 2, you have the same three spaces. They're done differently because you've got your division sign here rather than bracket form. So what do you have? You have your dividend, which is this, divided by your divisor, and it still equals your quotient. I'm trying to see on my screen if that is visible to you. So, okay, the third one's your fraction example. Your fraction example division, oops, got caught here, hold on. Your fraction example of division, all right, is one number over another number, and equals, again, you end up with your one number over the top, so you end up with your dividend on the top, your divisor is underneath, and your answer is still going to be your quotient. So it works a little differently. So you have 27 and 3. Now, I've got 27 over top of 3, so I have an improper fraction because my 27 is larger. Okay, my dividend is larger than my divisor. Right? Doesn't really matter as long as, I'm trying to see, make sure this is still on the screen. I can't tell. There we go. It matters what you do with it. So what you're doing is you're taking the divisor and just like here and up in your first example, the divisor goes into the dividend. Okay, this here is just your divide sign. So the fraction line is your division sign. All right, bottom number goes into the top number. All right, so you've got your numerator, denominator. The denominator is going to divide into the numerator, and you're still going to get your quotient, your answer. All right, it's still going to be your quotient. And in this case, how many times will 3 go into 27? You've got 9. So it ends up being a whole number. All right, won't always. Sometimes you'll have numbers left over, etc. All right, I just used an easy example. All right, so if you don't know those terminologies, you need to know them. Without that, you're gonna end up with all kinds of problems. So you need to know that in the bracket situation, you've got a divisor, dividend is the inside the bracket, your answer is the quotient. This way, you've got the dividend here, your divided sign's here, your divisor's here, and you still end up with a quotient. Alright, so example 3, that's your fraction example. Your fraction example, oops, sliding off the page here. Your fraction example, and you end up with a dividend on the top, divisor on the bottom equals a quotient. And basically, this here is your division sign. Alright, so it's a line, it's actually your division sign. Your divisor is going to divide into the dividend. So, taking a look at some whole number examples only. Oops, I grabbed the wrong overhead. I don't know where I put the other one. Oh, here it is. Alright. So grabbing this, we're going to carry on with our number system. I've still done 3 questions across. Dividing gives you a little less room because the questions get bigger. So we're looking at 5 into 120. It's a whole number. Alright, so how many 5s can you get out of 1? 0. Alright, don't necessarily need to put that 0 there, but it's a placeholder, you might want to. How many 5s can you get into 12? You can get 2. And you're going to have 2 left over when you subtract, because that's a subtraction. Alright, you still have one number left, even though it's a 0, you can't just drop it and get rid of it. So you need to use that 0, depends on how you've been taught. When I was young, you used to have to put an X, and that told you that you used it. Some people put arrows, some people put nothing, it just depends. Alright, so bringing that 0 down, how many 5s can I get out of 20? Okay, and I end up with 4. So, there's my divisor, there's my dividend, my quotient, my answer is 24. Okay. This one we're going to end up with a remainder because 3 and you end up with an odd number. It may not go evenly if you end up with a remainder. If it's whole numbers, they may want you just to add the remainder in. Just put R and then the number after it. Okay? If they want you to add zeros, they'll give you that in the instructions. So you have 3, number 11, we have 3 into 799. So my divisor is 3, my dividend is 799. My quotient, we'll find out. How many 3s in 7? There's 2. Oops, my marker is all marked. Okay, other marker. There's 2. Alright, so that gives me 6. I'm going to subtract. I end up with 1 left. I'm going to bring down the first 9. How many 3s in 19? This is where your fact and knowledge and number base comes in. If you struggle trying to figure out how many 3s and you have to keep putting in a calculator or figure this out and figure that out, it takes forever. Right? That's why memorizing fact cards or whatever route will work for you works better. So how many 3s in 19? So there's 6. That will give me 18. Subtract. And we end up with the same problem. We end up with 3 into 19. Well, we just know there was 6 on this one, so don't reinvent the wheel. 6 on this one, so 18. In this case, we've got 1 left, so I'm just going to put a remainder, 1. My last question is a double digit into quadruple. So I've got 34 into 6,120. How many 34s can you get out of 6? 0. How many 34s can you get out of 61? Only 1. Now you have to subtract. 11 take away 4 is 7. 5 take away 3 is 2. I'm going to bring down the 2. How many 34s in 272? Okay. I don't know, so we're going to take a guess. 8 times 4 will give me 32. So I'm going to try 8. Might be too high. 8 times 4 is 32. Need to remember to carry that 3. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 3 is 27, so it's even. Alright. Again, we still have a 0. You can't just drop that 0, you still need to carry it down. Now, how many 34s can you get out of nothing? Nothing. So you've got 180. Alright, so all the division questions, right, again, it's one of your 4 major operations in math. If you cannot do one of those 4 major operations, I used to have students come to my classroom and say, oh yeah, I don't do division. Alright, one of your 4 operations, right, you have to be good at all of them before you can start doing anything with word problems and understanding how to use it in decimals, fractions, integers, algebra. You're going to struggle with a lot of things. So finding yourself some worksheets, something that you can practice, and I'm doing practice old school, okay? Don't use huge numbers. Start with single, double, triple digits, right? Do those by hand. If you get good at it, you're not going to struggle with most of the rest of the math because the fact-based knowledge will be there. All you have to do is build on that.